And so, Brazil and Argentina, we know what happened with Argentina. They 0-0 against Paraguay, but it was another win for Brazil. Is essentially what we're going to see with the rest of the CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying, just going to be a dress rehearsal for those two teams?
Yeah, for Brazil, and let's just go back to that game against Venezuela, no Neymar. And so then it becomes a question, all right, so no Neymar, where's the creativity going to come from? Where are the goals going to come from? Casemiro was also out with a tooth infection of all things, so he wasn't playing. So there were some questions about this Brazilian team. And up until that set piece that Marquinhos scores a goal, those questions were very valid. Brazil hadn't been able to create all kinds of opportunity against Venezuela. Yes, they had a lot of possession of the ball, but it was very passive possession with very little transition. There wasn't any sort of dynamic movement from Brazil. And Venezuela, yes, I would say Venezuela at times were comfortable defending against Brazil. A couple of chances that came from Brazil were deflections by Venezuela, goes off the crossbar and out. That sort of thing was what was happening for Brazil, broken plays. And then you find a way to score a goal on a set piece. And from then on, you saw something better from Brazil. Rafinha was very good. Vinicius had an impact on the game as well, coming on the left-hand side. They changed the way that they played in the final third, and it made it very difficult for Venezuela to hang on. And once Venezuela gave up that goal, then that's it, game, set, match. You knew that they were not going to be able to see it, that game out at 1-1. It was always going to be Brazil that was going to win. The point about Brazil is this. No Neymar, no Casemiro, leaders of this team, and yet, whether it was pretty or not, they're finding ways to get results. And when you consider what Brazil can be in the World Cup, yeah, Neymar is going to be there, and Casemiro is going to be there, but there's going to be moments in which they're going to have to grind a result out. And it's not going to be against a team like Venezuela. It'll be a better version of what this team was able to offer last night. And so, for me, it's important that Brazil just get their 3 points and move on. And yes, continue their preparation. They've already qualified to the World Cup. And it's just a matter of them getting their preparation as to what's going to be the best version of Brazil in Qatar.
But does that tell us something in itself? Because usually these World Cup qualifiers are arguably the most difficult in the world. But to have that lead at the top of the table, can that translate in the World Cup next year?
Well, it's two different competitions, and it's two different moments, and you don't know what kind of players you're going to have available and at what level. The World Cup qualifier campaign is an entirely different animal altogether. When it comes to the World Cup, what you need is momentum. What you need is confidence. What you need is a team that feels good about the things that they're doing on the field. And you need to have a history of success, and an immediate history of success. And Brazil would have had that based upon what they do in the qualifiers. And what they've done is dominate CONMEBOL. So yes, that gives Brazil a mindset of, look, at our best, we're better than everybody else in South America, and certainly we feel that we can be better than most teams around the world. You have that in your back pocket because you've done it, you've accomplished it. But in terms of projecting what they do in the World Cup based upon what they do in the qualifiers, that's a different conversation.
Would you bet against them, Stevie, for next year's World Cup?
No, and we never do. Every time the World Cup comes around and Brazil are in it, they're up there as the favourites. And we can always come up with reasons why they win it. You know, we always end up with, well, defensively they might be questionable. But the problem is, when you've got so much attack and flair, sometimes you can get away with your problem being defensively. So, no, you can never back against Brazil. Only a fool would back against Brazil.
Okay, well, Brazil did take more of a lead in the table because of Argentina's result against Paraguay. It finished goalless there. In fact, it was the first time they failed to score since June of 2019, but they do remain unbeaten in World Cup qualifying. What were the takeaways from this one, Ale?
Argentina had a few chances, and Anthony Silva, the goalkeeper from Paraguay, came up with a couple of big saves. Omar Alderete, the defender, somehow clears it off the line with a back heel. He wasn't even facing the play and eventually gets the ball out of a dangerous area. Messi was somewhat active, didn't quite have the impact on the game that you expect from Lionel Messi, but the moments that he did appear, he was playing through balls and putting players in really good positions to score goals. And then it came down to who was playing up top, and it was Joaquin Correa, who actually had the opportunity to play against Paraguay, and he himself must have had 3 or 4 clear goal-scoring opportunities. And whether he missed them, whether Anthony Silva made the save, whether Alderete makes a save off the line, it just didn't happen for Argentina. Really, the only threat from Paraguay came from Miguel Almirón and a couple of counter-attack opportunities where that change of pace created some separations between him and the defenders. But as it pertains to Argentina, they'll take the point away from home at Defensores del Chaco. It's a tough place to play. But I think they'll be disappointed with the fact that with as many chances as they created, and it must have been 5 or 6 quality chances, that they were not able to put one of those away.
Okay, and the rest of the results across CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying are as stands. There are a couple of notable matchups to pick out in the recent round, namely Uruguay-Colombia, with history between those two sides, and of course Peru taking on Chile in the Pacific Derby. What stuck out for you, Ale?
Well, you start asking questions about a team like Colombia and say, all right, do they have enough to make a run in qualifiers? Are they going to be good enough to make it to the World Cup? And then if you're Ecuador and you have seen Ecuador in the past, you think at some point they are going to start dropping points. And yet it was impressive from them against Bolivia that 20 minutes in, they were in full control of the match. They did not give Bolivia an opportunity. And so it seems like for now, Ecuador is not taking a step back, which then means that Colombia has to get points. Chile has to get points, and obviously it doesn't help losing 2-0 against Peru.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.